And that's what I'm saying. No one had gone to the States and won.
No, no.
The likes of Rafe Small, he went over there, the Eagles, and the one before Bartstad squad. They all went over there with a big fucking charade and all that. Oh yeah, we're going to do this. And done fuck all. Well, the Preds were the first ones that actually won something, and they won the 5-man, which was no mean feat. But even then, there were some that might have said, well, that was a one-off, blah, blah, blah. We really see what the Preds are like when the 10-man goes over. So when was the first time you did that?
Well, no, we played the 10-man after the 5-man.
Was that at the World Cup or Nashville?
No, that was at Nashville.
Right.
But what it basically was, I'll stand up to any American here that's looking at me in the eyes. The games, you had all the American marshals on the field. All knew all the players.
Yeah.
And I'm not crying over spilt milk. We won the 5-man. And don't forget, we was playing with pump guns against semis.
Right.
We're the first team in the world ever to win a tournament.
So what year was that? Because I was over in Nashville in 1990, so it must have been after that.
Yeah, it was just after. It was when the Sterling was when the semis first started to come out. Obviously, the American teams got the semis first.
Well, I saw the first semi, the Automag, at 1990 that Swan was using. That was 1990, so that's when they come out.
I think it was an Intimidator or so, something like that. After they had other guns. But we played against these American teams.
So they all had semis.
They all had semis. We was the only team in the whole tournament with pumps. This is what people don't realise. We beat all the top American teams at the 5-man with pump guns against semis. We was the only team there with pumps.
Wow.
And then we went in to play the 10-man.
What was the reaction from because I know what it's like to play and the judges and I know exactly what it's like.
When we first originally started beating the American teams, they was so much animosity because they just couldn't get it through their head that we was as good as all that, if not better.
So I remember you telling me about some out fucking cheating that some of those judges had done to try and fuck you up.
That's right.
Like blowing the whistle early.
Yeah, that's what happened in one of the
we'll get to that in the
World Tennis. Yeah, but no, we had people on the sidelines, other American players coming up and saying, just we're disgusted with this. You've hit that guy 3 times, and the marshals let him carry on.
Yeah.
And I think that was in the early days. That was the one thing about paintball that really used to upset me. There was, rather than being an on-field rivalry, it was deeper than that.
Between the Americans, you mean?
Yeah, between the Americans and English. They obviously they was the kingpins over there, and they just don't like losing.
I think it's not so much between the Americans and the English. I honestly think the Americans have got no disrespect to any Yanks. They've got a touch of arrogance about them.
I've got some really good friends of mine.
Yeah, I think we both have. Yeah. But I think with the Americans, it's not the English. It's anybody other than America.
They don't like losing.
Yeah, they don't like losing.
And if they people might think this is sour grapes and stuff.
No, it's not, because I've been over there and played with American team. I know what happens.
I know what it's like. But as I said, we played the 10-man, and we had a couple of instances. We played. I'll never forget. We played. I think it was Team Navarone. We played them on the field. We run out, and all of a sudden I've lost the whole side of my flank. This cannot happen. I used to go out and I used to sprint train with a sprinter to run out on breakouts, and so did some other players. We knew roughly how far you would go before the point of contact. Right? If 1 or 2 players have been shot at, then I can understand it. But a whole side. What basically happened, they let their team break out early. They was actually out. They was another
sitting there waiting.
They was 10-15 yards outside of their base on the breakout, because there's no way maybe one player could have made that position.
Yeah, but not
4 or 5 men. It was in a physical.
And the thing is, you'd have never known that would have happened until you got out there.
That's
right. Fucking
and these guys that broke out against us, they were what I call, not joking, they were big old boys. They wasn't like us, young and fit and hungry.
Yeah.
They was big. They was like big, overweight people that couldn't run to save their life. There's no way you could get there.
Yeah.
And what we done? We didn't. We got beat in the 10-man, which was fair enough. But our real eye awakening, to be truthful with you, was when after that when we went to America and in the World Cup.
Well, I think that's when you proved to everybody that you weren't just a 5-man winner. You went. I mean, I think a lot of us back home, because I didn't go to that World Cup where you was at. I don't think, when you got the first or the second or whatever happened. We'll go to that in a minute. Is that you matured to the point where the Americans couldn't ignore you anymore. And these predator upstarts in England, blah blah blah, all that bullshit. Once you got there, can you just tell people what happened that first time you went?
We went to the. It was really.
And at the time, let me just set the scene. the dominant teams at that time, you had the All-Americans that were bashing everybody up, which is the Philly Americans, just recently deceased. You had the Ironmen under Bobby Long, Dave Youngblood, all these people. Aftershock, who I played for, and All-Americans, all that crap with Rennick Miller. These were legends, and they were splitting up the World Championships between them. And Margus, with the Predators, to be fair, he, at the end of the day, wasn't being respected by these teams in the rhetoric that was coming out. So, you go over there, tell us what happened.
Well, we basically went out to the 10-man out there.
What year was this, 93?
I think it was 92 or 93. The actual years all become one now because it's such a long time ago. But yeah, we went to New York State out there to play.
Jerry Vaughan's World Cup.
Jerry Vaughan's site, and the fields were very, very similar to what we played back in England.
Yeah, I remember. Poughkeepsie, wasn't it?
Yeah, Poconos, wasn't it?
Oh, Poconos, yeah.
Big rolling oak trees and whatever, big open fields, nice long
Ponderosa.
Ponderosa,
yeah, do you remember that field?
Big open fields, plenty of long balling, and then also a layer and an aggressive game of paintball.
Yeah.
Right. And is that? Oh, that's correct. Yeah. No. I made a mistake here. No, I've made a mistake. We went and played the 10 men before that. That's correct. No, we played out in America before that. And we got our asses kicked.
Did you?
We went out there. That was my mistake. We went to America. I think it was the year before that. And we played. That's correct. We went there. We played before.
In the World Cup.
In the World Cup. I'm sure it was the World Cup.
And got bashed
and
up.
we got absolutely bashed alive by Aftershock. The first time we'd ever played Aftershock out there, they rolled all over us.
Right.
Right, and then we came back over here to England, and I totally revised our tactics and our attack.
Out of that one defeat.
There was a cup there. That was the major.
So what did the Aftershock do? Is it just a pure?
Aftershock came out, and they was the only team ever to come out and hit us. They come out and they hit us.
Didn't give a fuck, did they?
They didn't care. They showed us no respect. Why? Because what we used to do in the Predators, we had what we used to call a rolling defence. We would practice not just attacking.
Falling back.
We would practice a rolling defence. So we would roll back.
Yeah.
And what we would do a lot of times, sometimes we'd break out and roll back to suck other teams in and shoot them out from the flanks.
And then go
forward again. We'd have a contingency plan and we'd roll back and then go back and punch.
Was Phil any part of that role? Or was he always back at camp?
No, what Phil Ham, as the game progressed on, it enabled me to be able to be let sort of off my leash and go and play the aggressive paintball because I was a very good attacking player. And Phil Ham was a defensive player. And what Phil would basically do, Phil would orchestrate the rollback.
Right.
Because I was too far forward to be able to see.
So he would be the governor.
Yeah, on the back. We basically had two forms of Phil would be the person who coordinated that defence. I would coordinate the attack.
Because whatever you say about Phil, he's a bit of a dappling diver, but we both know he was a great paintball.
Fantastic paintball player.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I can't take that.
Just one thing about Phil, just to show how good he was. He went over. He was playing for the All-Americans at the time, just before I joined them, and he went over and there was a World One-on-One Championship, do you remember, at down in Knoxville, Tennessee, and you had about 100 guys there, all trying to go for the one, and Phil won it.
Yeah.
So, you know, he was just, and then I got second the year after, because he just beat me in that.
He was a phenomenal.
So, he was orchestrating this rollback, so
what, the Aftershock
smashed through that.
Aftershock attacks, and they smashed through us, yeah. And they played very...
And that made an indelible impression on you. Because if you think about it, you'd been smashing everybody over here with that same psychology.
That's right.
And all of a sudden someone's done to you.
When we went to the first World Cup, we didn't win. I think we didn't place very high. We learned from it. It was a very big learning curve. I come back over and looked at the way we played and thought, because we come back to Sweettree with our tail between our legs. And I turned around and said, you know what, we need to change it. Right.
So how did you go about changing it? Because the philosophy you had was so successful.
No, but in comparison to the American teams, we wasn't aggressive. Well, you
weren't aggressive enough.
No, we wasn't aggressive enough. We was aggressive, but we wasn't. When we used to play the English teams originally, we had what they call controlled aggression. It would
concerted pressure.
It would be a build-up of pressure.
Yeah, an accumulation.
An accumulation of pressure. I would never ever risk anybody on a breakout.